Truth is powerful, but truth explained too quickly often loses its power. Most people assume that if something is important, it should be explained clearly, directly, and immediately. That seems logical. If a message matters, why not make it obvious? Why hide it inside a story? Why wrap it in metaphor? Why allow people to misunderstand? Yet this is exactly how Jesus often taught. Instead of giving straightforward explanations, he spoke in parables. Short stories, simple images, seeds, soil, lamps, vineyards. At first glance, they sound ordinary. But beneath those simple images were layers of meaning that could take years to fully understand. And that raises an interesting question. Why would someone with such important teachings choose a method that seems almost indirect? Why not simply explain everything? Because understanding is not only about information. It is about readiness. When truth is given too directly, the mind often rejects it. The human ego protects itself from ideas that threaten its identity. If a message challenges the way someone sees themselves, their instinct is not to accept it. Their instinct is to resist it. This is where the brilliance of parables becomes clear. A story bypasses resistance. Instead of confronting the listener directly, it invites them to explore. The mind relaxes. Curiosity replaces defensiveness. And slowly, the truth begins to unfold from within the listener's own thoughts. A direct accusation provokes defense, but a story invites reflection. Jesus understood something about human psychology that many teachers miss. People rarely change when they feel attacked. They change when they discover something for themselves. A parable creates that discovery. It plants a question instead of forcing an answer. And questions are powerful. A good question can stay in the mind for years. It can follow someone into quiet moments, into moments of doubt, into moments of growth. Truth discovered slowly often becomes truth that lasts. But there is another layer to this. Parables did more than invite reflection. They also filtered listeners. Some people heard a story and walked away. Others heard the same story and began to think deeply. The difference was not intelligence. It was openness. Those who were willing to search for meaning found it. Those who were only listening casually heard nothing more than a simple story. In this way, parables separated curiosity from indifference. They revealed who was truly listening. And this is something profound. Not everyone who hears truth is ready for it. Some truths require preparation. If you give deep insight to someone who is not ready, they will not receive it. They may misunderstand it or reject it entirely. Wisdom sometimes waits for the right moment to reveal itself. A parable allows truth to remain hidden until the listener is prepared to see it. Think about how many of Jesus' teachings still provoke thought today. 2,000 years later, people are still reflecting on those stories. The Good Samaritan, the prodigal son, the mustard seed. These stories endure because they are not just statements. They are living ideas. Every time someone revisits them, new meaning can emerge. This is the power of layered truth. A simple statement may be understood once, but a story can unfold forever. And there is also humility in this method. When someone explains everything directly, they place themselves above the listener. They become the authority delivering conclusions. But a story invites the listener to participate. It allows them to arrive at the insight themselves. That experience is much more transformative, because people protect ideas that feel like their own discoveries. What begins as a simple story slowly becomes personal understanding. And personal understanding shapes behavior far more deeply than instruction. This is why parables are not weakness in teaching. They are sophistication. They require patience, both from the teacher and the listener. They respect the natural pace of human insight. Instead of forcing change, they nurture it. There is also something deeply human about the way parables work. Human beings do not live through abstract ideas alone. We understand life through images, experiences, and stories. A story gives shape to something that would otherwise remain invisible. When Jesus spoke about seeds falling on different types of soil, he was not only describing agriculture. He was describing the condition of the human heart. Some hearts are open, some are distracted, some are hardened. The same truth reaches everyone, but it does not grow the same way in every person. A statement might inform the mind for a moment, but a story creates a mirror. It allows the listener to recognize themselves within the narrative. And that moment of recognition can be uncomfortable. It can reveal pride, fear, or blindness. But because the lesson is hidden within the story, the realization feels less like an accusation and more like discovery. That subtle difference matters more than we often realize. Direct confrontation usually triggers resistance. When someone feels judged, their mind immediately begins defending itself. But when insight arrives through reflection, the mind opens instead of closing. A parable gives the listener space to think rather than forcing them to react. In many ways, parables slow the process of understanding on purpose. And slowing down has value. Modern culture often treats information as something to consume quickly. We read headlines. We scroll through ideas. We move on to the next thought almost immediately. But wisdom rarely operates at that speed. Wisdom grows through reflection, through patience, through time. Parables invite that slower process. They ask the listener to sit with the story, to turn it over in their mind, to revisit it later with new perspective. A person might hear a parable once and only understand a small part of it. Years later, the same story may suddenly reveal something entirely different. In this way, a parable grows alongside the listener. It changes as the person changes. A child might hear a story and understand one lesson. An adult might hear the same story and see a completely different meaning. The words remain the same, but the depth of the listener transforms the interpretation. And this is why these teachings continue to resonate across centuries. They were never meant to function as simple answers. They were meant to function as living questions. Questions that challenge assumptions. Questions that expose hidden motives. Questions that gently lead the mind toward deeper truth. In a world that constantly demands immediate explanations, the parables of Jesus remind us that the deepest truths are not always delivered instantly. Sometimes they are planted quietly, like a seed beneath the soil, waiting for the right moment to grow. And perhaps that is why Jesus spoke in parables. Not to hide the truth, but to allow it to grow. Because truth forced upon the mind rarely transforms the heart. But truth discovered slowly has the power to change everything.